would you call the roll?
Councilman Gillespie.
Here.
Councilman Wood.
Here.
Councilman Argo.
Here.
Councilman Miller. Councilman Renner.
Here.
Councilman Bowles. Councilman Fink.
Here.
Ladies and gentlemen, I hereby call this Prattville City Council work session to order. Before we begin, there's two things I would like to make sure that is reflected in the minutes. Number one is that Councilman Miller will not be here this evening. He had a previous engagement in Huntsville. He tried to reschedule it, but he was unsuccessful, so he's not here. Councilman Bowles is closing his store. He should be here within the next 3 or 4 minutes. He asked for us to go ahead and go forward and that he would try to catch up when he got here. So I want to make sure everyone knows that. Members of the council, you will recall that at last Tuesday's city council meeting, we had a resolution before us to authorize the mayor to borrow $3.1 million to cover a bonded indebtedness balloon payment that's due on November the 1st. Councilman Fink made a motion and was seconded and ultimately unanimously accepted by the council to hold that resolution until such time as we could have a work session and a special call meeting, which will be at 6 p.m. tomorrow evening right here in these chambers. So we'll make sure everybody remembers that we do have that meeting tomorrow night at 6 o'clock. Members of the council, I'm going to ask that Finance Director Rod Morgan come forward. Rod, I know that the audio is not going to be great, so probably the best thing for you to do, I'm guessing, Teresa, if
Point the mic at him.
I will point my mic towards you. If you don't mind, just give us a recap of where we were last Tuesday evening and the information that you had and the recommendation that you made to us at that time.
Yes, I do have to. As we discussed last evening, 47% of our $6.6 million debt service for this budget year is due November 1st from month into our budget. The funds that we use to make this payment will predominantly come from business licenses and holiday sales taxes, which come in January and February. We try to hold on to as much cash as we can to build up the fund and make this payment. Unfortunately, as I said, the funds are supposed to come a little bit later, so we're in a position where we need to go ahead and take out the bridge loan, the temporary short-term loan, to make this payment on the 1st, continue to operate, pay it off, generate over the business license taxes.
Members of the council, I'll also let you know that the Finance Committee did meet. Dr. Miller, Mr. Renninger, and myself, we did meet. We did discuss this at length. It is going to be our unanimous recommendation that we do take out the $3.1 million loan. We'll give you an opportunity to ask Mr. Morgan any questions you might have, but I did want to let you know what the recommendation was going to be from the Finance Committee. Does any member of the council have any questions of Mr. Morgan on the loan before we get to where it would come from? On the loan. Anyone have any questions of that? Mr. Renninger.
Mr. Morgan, I ask you to send out requests for quotes on every financial institution within the city limits of Prattville. I see that you pretty much have done that, and I appreciate that. How many actually responded?
We sent out a total of 14. I had 4 responses. We sent, and our general protocol sent RFPs to send one to every bank with a presence, a physical presence in the city. We do have some financial institutions that do not have a physical presence in the city, but have asked to receive RFPs, and so we did distribute RFP to those banks as well, those institutions as well.
I appreciate you honoring my request. Thank you.
Any other member of the council have any questions, Mr. Morgan, about the loan itself? Members of the council, you would have received an email from Mr. Morgan earlier today with a listing of the financial institutions that he contacted with a request for proposal. You should have those numbers in front of you. Mr. Morgan, if you don't mind, tell us what you were able to find out by talking to the different institutions.
Yes, sir, Captain. As I said, we distributed 14 requests for proposals. We did; those were due back to me by noon today in order to be able to confirm the terms and share that with the council on time for y'all to consider. It's typically when we send out an RFP for financial services, I don't publish the terms of non-prevailing respondents. That has a chilling effect on future responses to audit fees. After we published the amount of interest at the last council meeting, not surprisingly, all the responses came in somewhat lower. Regions in particular was aggressive. They proposed a rate of 1.23% with a fee of $1,000. Even with that fee at that rate, they were clearly the lowest respondent. And the total cost of that borrowing would be $13,710 at the most.
Any member of the council have any questions, Mr. Morgan, about the financial institution, Regions Bank? Rod, I'm assuming that that's going to be your recommendation to us, is that Regions would be the bank that we would go with?
Yes, I recommend that we move forward with this loan, $3.1 million, and we'll do it with Regions Bank.
Any member of the council have any questions about that issue? Thank you, Rod. Appreciate it. Any further thoughts from the council? Yes, Mr. Gillespie.
Thank you. I'm sorry, I was out of town today and I was not able to get to check my emails today. But one question I do have from one of my constituents, and you might have already sent out an email, but I did not get it. But can you identify specific, exactly which specific bond forms and any operating expenses that this money will be spent on?
Yes, we have to. The vast majority of $2.9 million is going to the 2006A Economic Development Incentive General Obligation Warrant, the 2006B EDI Economic Development Incentive General Obligation Warrant, the 2007 EDI and the 2006 General Obligation Warrant. Those payments are for the 2006A, $580,000, for the 2006B, $762,000, for the 2007, $571,000, and for the 2006, $985,000, for the 2006 year, $985,000.
Okay, with that. What does that add up to?
That comes to right at $2.9 million. The total debt service is $3,059,280. 3.1, as y'all know, whenever we take out, whenever we approve any type of financial transaction, there is some room there for any type of fee or cost of issuance, so there's a little bit of room there for that. Not much, but the total debt service is $3,059,280. The remaining $159,000 are a smaller loan payment, and then the capital leases and the bank owns on fire tower truck transaction.
Okay, if you don't mind, hard to write down that as quickly as you said it, but can you write all that down for me? Sorry. It's hard to write that down as quickly as you said it, but if you wouldn't mind, I'd like to write that down and send that to me in an email, having all that broken down. And
Councilman Gillespie, I just emailed it to you. I had the exact same question from one of my constituents verbatim, and I responded to it this morning, so I've already sent you that. You got it in your inbox.
okay, thank you. If I might go on some other stuff.
Yes, sir.
About this is that, you know, you and I have been talking about, you and I have already been talking about what we owe our vendors and everything. The way I understand it, the biggest reason why we're here is because on the resolution and also comments made was that we have cash on hand that we can go out and pay this 3.1. But I think the vast majority of that is encumbered, isn't that correct?
Yes, sir. It is.
Okay. I mean, because, you know, what you sent me here is a list of vendors that we owe. You updated it, which shows it to be.
I believe it's $119,000 total. We've got some of that since then. I mean, that changes a little bit each day, but that is one of the reasons we try to hold cash in anticipation of this payment.
Okay.
That is one reason, one very strong reason I think we need to go ahead and move forward along and then satisfy this debt in January, February with business on.
Okay, so in reality, we do not have enough money on hand to make this $3.1 million payment. So we do have enough to end up paying the vendors that we owe. Is that correct?
Yes, if we take out the loan, we'll have enough to catch up the vendors that we owe. But no, we will have enough unencumbered cash on hand to make this payment. So we've had to make payroll, some of that money's in the healthcare account, some of that money's in other accounts. Drug purchasing expenses, that its use is limited or restricted. So, we need to take out this loan, make this debt payment, and then satisfy this loan out of the business licenses that are coming in January.
Okay, so, and you are very confident that we can make this $3.1 million payment in January, February, March, April, whenever our tax dollars, our business license dollars come in?
Yes, sir. Our business licenses and the January sales taxes, which are the holiday sales taxes, in 2009, they were 4.9 million. This past year, in 2010, they were 5.2 million. So we'll have the cash on hand to satisfy this debt in January or very early.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Renner, you have your hand up. Mr. Wood.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just to follow up on something Councilman Lisby asked, because I have the same question here. Even if our sales tax and business license total 5.3 during that time frame in January, February of 2011, is that what you're talking about, right?
Yes, sir.
We had covered 3.1 loan and interest and all business obligations.
We still don't have it.
Still going to have those business obligations. We had covered the loan and all business obligations.
Yes, sir. We'll catch the vendor obligations up. When we take this loan out, we'll take the cash we have on hand and then hold and catch the vendor obligations up. The sales taxes and business licenses will be sufficient to satisfy this loan and all the obligations. It's unfortunate, municipal budgets, anticipate kind of 12 even months of revenues and expenditures, and that's just not the way they fall. We unfortunately have a timing issue here. The bulk of our revenues come in the second quarter of our year, the bulk of our payments are in the first quarter of the year. And so we will have the money to pay it. We'll have the money to pay it the second quarter.
Can I just follow up on my question, please?
If we approve this loan, what additional debt immediately would have to be paid? When we've been in a situation, just say in January or February, that another debt service payment is due, and if we are, how will we pay it?
Well, we have debt service payments due each month. Some of our debt is due monthly. The bonds are due every 6 months. We do have some bond payments due in December. We'll be able to meet those obligations. Our next large bond payment is due in May. It's the second payment for this budget year on 2004 bonds I've listed. It's over 4.1 million, and we'll have enough at that time. Like I said, the bulk of our money comes in the second quarter. We'll have enough cash, if we decide to have cash at that time to make that payment.
Will you please give me that information on what additional debt has to be paid so that I can really see where we are before we move forward with this decision amounts and due dates thing? Clear me up on something. I guess I was a little confused because one of the constituents stated that we have a debt service fund that had 3.5 million. And one of my main concerns was if we had 3.5 million in a debt service fund, why couldn't we make a payment? Evidently, what I'm hearing from you, we got money in several different funds that may come up to that total or more than that, but not 3.5 million specifically in a debt service reserve fund. We don't have that, do we?
No, sir. No, sir. We have money in the number of funds.
Thanks. Any member of the council have any questions? Mr. Bowles.
I have a couple. You said we got $5 million last year in the Christmas season? Or the after Christmas, between the taxes and the business license, was that $5 million just business license?
No, that was the 5.2 was the January sales tax collections, which were just over 1.5 million, and then the business license collections in the January and February, which were right at 3.7 million.
What did we use that money for last year?
For operations.
What are we going to do this year? Because we're apparently using that money to pay on bond, but yet the lights are still on. We still have payroll. Everything's clicking along. We still have the Garden of Eden down here. I mean, nothing's changing. What are we going to do about that? Because we're $3 million in the hole. And even if we take the business license money and pay the bond back, we're still $3 million in the hole, because we still have the lights and the people to pay and everything else that rolls along like normal, parades and parties. What are we gonna do?
Well, it's, I mean, again, this is a timing issue, and unfortunately, our payments are due before the bulk of our money comes in. We've always used the business licenses and sales tax season to try to replenish our reserves, which get spent down over the year, to catch everything up and replenish our reserves. You know, and so we'll use that money the same way we always have. We'll satisfy this debt, we'll replenish our reserves, set aside money for the next debt payment, and continue operating.
Okay, next question. How far behind are we on paying our vendors? What's the longest person that we owe? How long? 3 months?
We should not have anything. I wanted to ensure that we had no problem with payroll, so we met the payroll. Everything else pretty much should be covered.
By any chance, was that 3 months held to make the budget look better?
I was holding the cash to try to make this bond payment.
It wasn't done to make the budget that we just went over 3 weeks ago look better. Because that's going to take the books if you were holding money back and not paying vendors.
Well, but it shows up in the accounts payable. I was holding trying to make the debt service payment.
How long did you and the mayor's office know that we did not have the money to make this bond payment?
We have ongoing conversations. We have conversations for several months. I cannot pinpoint a date, but we have ongoing conversations about the city's finances.
I want to make it very, very clear that the administration knew about this months before the budget was here. Is that correct?
Yes, I mean, we have an ongoing conversation about our finances.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Mr. Moore? Thank you, Mr. Moore. Members of the council, ladies and gentlemen, I will let you know that another of the resolutions that we adopted last Tuesday evening was a resolution to work towards reducing the budget that was adopted and then was reconsidered at last Tuesday's meeting, moving toward reducing that budget by $1 million. The Finance Committee again met last evening. We've gone over the budget. I believe that we've identified some areas where we are going to come to the City Council as a whole to make some recommendations. Obviously, we're going to have some additional work sessions for us to go over that budget, to meet with the Finance Director and with the Mayor. Obviously, the Finance Committee is only going to make recommendations, but it will be up to this full council to decide where or if any of the line items are reduced or if there's any areas where there can be some reduction. I also do want to say that at last Tuesday evening's meeting, we also adopted another resolution that instituted an immediate hiring freeze. Obviously, most of you know that when you have a budget, your largest fixed cost is going to be your personnel. There is going to be some discussions about looking at our personnel, at our staffing patterns. Going to be some discussions about whether we can accomplish what we want to accomplish through attrition, or whether there will have to be some furloughs, or whether there will actually have to be some reductions in staff. It's my hope that we're going to bring a recommendation to the council that will be as less harmful or have a less impact on current staff, and that we'll be able to accomplish what we want to accomplish through attrition. That may not be necessary, but that's what this council is going to have to deal with over the next coming days. Members of the council, unless there are any other questions, that exhausts the work session on the loan. We will have a meeting tomorrow evening, again at 6 p.m. in these chambers. There will have to be some additional meetings to go over the budget, which I hope to schedule in the next week. I do not anticipate anything coming up tomorrow evening about the budget. The only thing on the agenda will be the resolution authorizing the mayor to execute the loan with Regions Bank. However, as always, that never precludes the council from discussing any issue that it wishes to discuss during the meeting, but it will not be on the agenda. So I just want to make sure that everybody's clear with that. Members of the council, is there anything further?
Motion to adjourn.
Mr. Gillespie.
Yes, sir, thank you.
First of all, let me say this. A motion to adjourn is always in order, and I'm going to say I can accept your motion, but I appreciate that. Mr. Gillespie.
Thank you. The resolution we're going to have before us Tuesday night, it talks about how we had the money and so forth. are we going to make any kind of amendments to reflect the actuality of the state that we're in? Or are we going to try to pass it saying that we have the money in the reserves where in reality we don't? Has that been discussed with anybody in the finance committee?
What I would like to do is I would like to get the finance director and give the city clerk and draft a new resolution to be adopted, to be basically substituted, that will have language in it that just says that, you know, due to the cash reserves on hand, that it is now necessary for us to execute a loan, and authorizing the appropriate people to do that. However, if the resolution is the verbiage is not to your liking, you're always free to make recommendations and amendments to that to get it the way the council accepts it.
Okay, thank you. And then I guess the other thing is, when we'll be having more meetings to find out more about whatever cuts we're going to have to be making, and then also what are we doing to really do this long term, besides just our cuts.
And that's something that I want the council to be crystal clear on, and that is what we did last Tuesday evening basically removes all spending from the city except for those items that are absolutely necessary to accomplish the business of the city. There was no capital in the budget, so there's no capital to be expended. There's no equipment to be purchased. However, if a fire truck or an ambulance or a police car goes down and a part has to be purchased, because that would require them to purchase that part and continue to work with the city, that could be done. But what we did last Tuesday evening was we froze spending. Anything above what is necessary for the emergency functions of the city, which is payroll and so forth, has to come before the council. We froze hiring, so no one can be hired. If there is a proposal to hire someone, it has to come to the finance committee, then the full council has to then sign off on it. So we will have several meetings in the coming days, and I say days because I've not spoken with anybody on the council about what your calendar looks like, but I would assume that the council would like to get moving on that as quickly as possible, so that we can have a budget in place so that everyone knows exactly what we're doing and how that money is being spent. But as of the moment, the only thing that can be spent is payroll and anything that is of emergency nature to allow the city to continue operating. I hope that answers your question. Mr. Wood.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I want to make a statement because tomorrow I hope I don't have to make any more statements no more than like produce a vote on the necessary evil that we all know is before us. It's easy to make wrong first judgments. Based on incomplete or inaccurate information, we can jump to wrong conclusions and make poor value judgments about people and situations. And that can cause hurt to others, politicians as well as the people we represent. We need to be careful that our judgments are backed up by the right information, which is the truth, and the right attitude, the compassion of Christ. A snap judgment has a way of coming up faster. Righteous judgment is for winners, and I think we all are winners in this community, so I hope we can pull this together. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Wood. Anything further from the council? Mr. Gillespie.
Thank you. I have one more thing. I do have a letter from my constituent from District 1 that wanted to read this, and so I thought it's either read it tonight or tomorrow night, and it'll give us something to ponder on.
Please feel free.
Tonight. But since the City Council meeting last Tuesday night, I have been contacted by a number of concerned citizens. We all share the same concerns that I have regarding the financial condition of our city and the effect it will have on them, the businesses, and the families if not rectified soon. I understand that it may be necessary to borrow money to meet Prattle's obligations, but I sincerely hope that the council has seen from the citizens' concern response that a definite need exists for immediate working plan to address Prattle's financial future before borrowing money without any reasonable plan to make the city financially secure. Many faithful employees of cities have expressed concern for their jobs because of their precarious financial condition and its accompanying budget scrutiny because they too have financial obligations to meet and families to support. Given the economic time we're living in today, eliminating expenditures in the form of administration or government perks, additional unnecessary vehicle and equipment purchases, and special events, as well as initiating a hiring freeze, as discussed earlier, seem to be at least a good starting points in reducing budget expenditures. The opinion has been expressed by some of our elected officials that with regard to city government, perception is everything when it comes to the citizens of Prattville. In other words, if Prattville looks well, if Prattville looks like all is well, then all is well. I urge you to give the people of Prattville more credit than that. I believe that they are very much aware of the careless or wasteful spending that has put us in the dire financial condition our city is in. In light of last week's council meeting, some of you stated that every effort will be made to see that this type of problem will never occur again. I hope you will all take a more aggressive approach in that direction as you come up with a working plan for the budget. Please do the right thing for the people who trusted you with this responsibility. Rededicate yourselves to being physically and financially responsible for the future of our private community. I'm Bobby Carter. Thank you, Mr. Carter.
Thank you, Mr. Gillespie. Anything further from the council? Mr. Payne?
Motion to adjourn.
A motion to adjourn. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye. Aye.